Back on the bench from our trail run, and I have to say I absolutely love this little truck. This thing is so much fun to wheel around. It hits the rocks great. It's got a ton of grip. I absolutely love the way it performs, the way it looks, the way it handles. It's such a cool little rig. I had some reservations. I was kind of torn between this truck and the SCX24 and the FCX18, all of which are excellent rigs, and I imagine I will probably end up with all three of them sooner rather than later. But I went with the TRX4M for now. This thing's a little dirty from our trail run. Why don't we get it cleaned up, get it disassembled, and we can start taking a look at some of the parts we've got, mostly suspension and body parts. I saved the electronics. We're gonna go over some of the electronic stuff later, but it performed pretty well with the electronics as is. So I wanna see how it does with a suspension upgrade, and then we will upgrade the motor, transmission, etc. from there. Let's go ahead and start getting it torn down, and we can see what kind of upgrades we have for it. These tires are decent. They're not great. The tread pattern is okay. There's nothing particularly wrong with them other than they're just pretty slick. It's a factory tire. They do also have a pretty hard shoulder and a soft center section, so they sort of deform weirdly. They don't want to deform at the shoulder, but they do in the center. So you can see we got hung up on the axles a couple of times, nothing too bad. No real damage to speak of from the little quick trail run that we did earlier. Everything performed really well. It's just a little bit dirty. Factory shocks are decent. They're actually not terrible. They could be much worse. I'll give them that. It feels like there's some oil in there for sure. They don't seem to be leaking. I mean, I only had them out once, but they are a little crunchy and sticky. You know, RTR plastic shocks. So here's our front axle assembly, basic stock plastic. This looks like pretty good quality plastic stuff. So it looks like this right rear shock actually is leaking already. I'm not sure if you can see that, but already got some gunk in there. Factory seals, but at least we know there is oil in there because it's leaking out. It's like a Dodge, right? That's how you know it's running. There she is, stripped down to just about the point where we need to be. Not much left at this point. The frame rails, the bumpers, the electronics, and the transmission. Now let's go ahead and get it cleaned up, and we can start with the fun bit, installing the new upgrade parts from Triel, as well as RC 4-wheel drive, and some fun stuff from TRAXXAS too. And just like that, through the power of editing, she's clean. And now we get to start with the fun bit, and that's going to be adding all of our trick new parts from Triel. And first up is going to be their brass diff covers. I went with these ones with the little machined lip. I really dig the look of these. Comes with new hardware, which is awesome, and a ton of stickers. In fact, all their parts come with a ton of stickers, so I'm never going to run out of Triel stickers, which is awesome, I guess. We'll start with the rear axle because that's all this is gonna get for now, is gonna be this brass diff cover. And so let's go ahead and get the factory one off. I really like the construction quality of this truck. Everything seems to be made out of a really high quality material, really well put together. Nothing is sloppy or loose or poorly executed. And that's one of the advantages of going with the TRAXXAS product, I think. You know, they say TRAXXAS is the Apple of the RC world, and that's definitely true, but you know, there's a reason for that. They make an excellent product. They do try to trap you in their ecosphere with their special connectors and all that sort of thing. But, you know, they're a business. They're profit driven, and it makes sense. Oh, look at that. No grease. Feels like there should be grease in there, right? I mean, I know it's a plastic gear, but no grease at all. That's disappointing. I'll have to see if I have some around here and throw it in there. Okay, so after about 45 seconds of internet research, I have come to the conclusion that it is probably fine to run some of this red high temp lithium based wheel bearing grease in my differential here. So I'm gonna take the bullet. If it doesn't work, you'll know. I'll let you know. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work. You know, I don't foresee these gears lasting long enough to get eaten away by the grease. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. I'll take the bullet for you guys. If I end up needing all new axle housings, you'll hear about it, and I'll be sad, and we'll get new ones and we'll move on. But I think this is going to do just fine. I don't think we're going to have any problems. Just want to make sure I got a good amount on there and it doesn't just immediately get thrown off. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, I guess I'm not. You know, plastic gears, bushings rather than bearings. I guess I'm not surprised. I guess I'm not. I shouldn't be. I'm sure that'll be fine. Didn't have any before, so some is better than none, right? So here is the Treel brass diff cover for the TRX4M. I love the look of this. I think it looks super tough. I love that they put the logo in the center there. I like all their parts, really. I'm probably gonna buy as much stuff as I can from them for this truck because I just love it so much. It looks super tough, fits the look that I'm after, and adds performance as well. This thing's pretty hefty. I mean, this weighs almost nothing, and this is rather heavy. In fact, let's bust out the scale. Okay, so on the scale, our factory plastic diff cover, 0.9 grams. And there's two of those, so that's, I guess, 1.8 grams total. And let's see for the Treel brass diff cover, 15.9 grams. So that's an extra 15 grams a piece, an extra 30 grams total. So we're off to a good start, adding a lot of weight down low where it needs it. Okay. Man, that looks tough. I dig that. That's a really good look. It adds a lot of weight. This thing is significantly heavier now. It fit up perfectly. No issues whatsoever. Fit right in place, bolted right up. Not a single issue. I'm very, very happy with that. This looks great. It's going to perform great, I think, and very happy with the fit. Go ahead and set that aside because that's all that's going to get for now. Next up is the front axle. Basically everything has to come off of this. We have a new steering link, we have new knuckles, we have new C hubs, we have a diff cover. I did not get front drive shafts. We're gonna stick with the stock front drive shaft and axles for now. We're gonna see how those perform. We'll probably replace those when I do a motor and electronics upgrade. But for now, I think we'll be just fine on the factory ones. So let's get the front axle disassembled here. Oh, and again, no grease. Okay, so we got the axle greased up, so let's go ahead and compare the weight of all of our factory plastic parts with the weight of our brass treel replacements. Diff cover, steering linkage, both C-hubs with their bushings, and the steering knuckles with their bushings. Wow, look at that, 100 grams even. Now, probably my favorite part about these brass treel pieces, besides the fact that they just look so good. I mean, that's a good looking hub. Besides the fact that they look good, they come with bearings. So that's cool. So you get a bearing upgrade and a weight upgrade at the same time. That's pretty sweet. Now the really nice part is the front hubs also come with bearings, which is known to be a common issue with these TRX4Ms. They have that binding issue in the front end where the tire sort of contacts the suspension and it binds up under full lock. I never experienced that issue out on the trail, although everything is basically factory. All right, so the factory setup was 100 grams even. I apologize, I had read that incorrectly. The factory setup was 10 grams. I don't know why I thought it was 100. Oh man. Anyway, the factory setup was 10 grams. This treel, all brass, hubs, knuckles, steering linkage, and diff cover, as well as the bearings, 59.7. So 49, a little over 49.5 grams gained down low in the front end, right where it needs it. That's awesome. I'm really excited about that. Sadly, I did not get brass hubs. For some reason, I just didn't think about it when I was making this order. That'll be the next round. The old plastic hubs go back on for now. But there you go. There's the front end assembled. Man, that looks tough. That looks tough. I love it. Looks absolutely great. Killer. Right, so now that we've got the axles all kitted out, man, they look so good. I can't wait to get these back on the truck. Now that we got the axles all kitted out, why don't we go ahead and get the links installed on the chassis. I got the brass links, of course, to match everything else, the high clearance option for the lowers. So let's go ahead and get those on the chassis, and we'll get the axles back on the truck. And just to be scientific, let's go ahead and record the weight of our factory links. All the factory links and rod ends. God, they're just such thin little teeny pieces of plastic. Cracks me up. 7.9 grams. 7.9 grams for all of the factory links and rod ends. And let's see, all together, our treel, brass, high clearance, links and rod ends, all together, 51 grams even. So that's a significant gain. Let's get these on the chassis and we'll skip on to the next step. Okay, suspension links are all on and mounted. I really dig the look at these. Let's go ahead and get our axles mounted. Okay, suspension, axles mounted back in place, steering back in place, but only with the top links, and that is because we are going to be replacing these boring plastic sticky factory shocks with these really nice Treel machined aluminum shocks. Now, these feel really good compared to the stock shocks. They feel great, they look great, they match the look of the truck. They did also come with an extra set of springs that seems like they may be stiffer. Definitely not gonna run these. 22.5 grams, so not a whole lot more, actually. Not a whole lot more than the factory setup. Let's get these mounted up on the truck, and that will be our suspension and steering complete for now. We are going to do plenty more upgrades, but for now, suspension and steering, I think we're just going to stick with this. Oh man, that's so great. That looks so tough. That's awesome. The suspension feels much better, feels much more solid. We've gained a ton of weight already and a ton of functionality too. Man, I'm pumped. This looks great. All right, suspension, steering is done, and you know what that means. Yup, time for the new wheels. We got these awesome Trail brass beadlock wheels. I'm really excited about these. And these RC four-wheel drive Baja Pro X tires. I was kind of torn on doing these on my deadbolt, but I decided to go with the TSLs. I really like these though, so we're gonna go with these on the Bronco. Let's get a weight on the factory wheel and tire setup. 78.2 grams. All four wheels and tires. So let's go ahead and pull out the beadlocks. Oh, look at that. That is awesome. These look great. I'm happy to see the hubs are a separate piece here. I believe you get 2 separate width hubs with this kit as well. So you can run these standard width or a +3, I believe. I'm gonna be running these +3s because I do want the added offset. Let's take a look at our Baja Pro X's here. Ooh, this feels nice and sticky. Very soft. There is a foam in there. I mean, man, what an upgrade compared to the factory tire. These are nice and squishy, no doubt. I'll give them that, especially for an RTR factory tire. Not too bad. They do the job pretty well. But man, these Baja Pros are so much better. So let's go ahead and get these mounted up and then we'll get them on the truck. Okay. It just looks so tough. I love this package. I love this wheel tire package. It looks so good. So the factory setup, all 4 wheels and tires, 78.2 grams. All 4 Trail beadlocks with the Mickey Thompson Baja Pro X from RC 4-wheel drive rings in at a whopping 238.2 grams. That's a significant increase. It's what, like 160 grams or so? That's a lot. Okay, chassis all back together, and oh my God, it looks so good. It's so tough. Look at this thing. Oh man, all that beautiful brass hardware. It's so much heavier now. It feels great. The suspension is a little stiff. I did a little digging. They are not pre-filled, so I'm gonna have to pop those back off and throw some shock oil in them. But that's fine, no big deal, that's pretty easy. The black springs are the softest, like I said, and it does feel maybe a little oversprung. The suspension feels great though. I mean, it looks great. I'm gonna have to make sure to get a lot of photos before I take this thing out on the trail, because it's probably never gonna look this good again. God, it looks good. Bajas look excellent. The beadlocks look excellent. Now we can move on to some of our more internal upgrades. So we've got the low speed crawler gears to go in the transmission. And we've also got the Pro Scale light kit, as well as the bumper and roof light bars. Okay, I lied. One more thing. Well, I guess technically 3 more things. Stopped by at the local hobby shop earlier to pick up some shock oil for these new Trail shocks. They are completely bone dry, so we'll go ahead and pull these off and fill them all, make sure they're nice and lubed up. I also picked up some of this 1-Up O-ring grease. I think I'm gonna go ahead and run this. I picked this up for the shocks on the deadbolt, but I think I'm actually gonna go ahead and run this on these Trail shocks as well. Why not? Can't hurt, might as well. And while I was there picking up my shock oil, I just couldn't help myself and I picked up a couple of little extras. This is the Samix brass servo mount. Trail does not make a brass servo mount for the TRX4M. They make an aluminum one, but not a brass one. But I found this Samix one that will perfectly match the current setup that I've got going on underneath there. So let's go ahead and pull our shocks off. We'll disassemble them all. We will get them filled and greased up with our O-ring grease and the brass servo mount. We'll get our wheels and tires back on, we'll get the body on, and then we can actually take a look at how this thing looks, and then we'll take it back out on the trails, see how it performs. Okay, front axle back out. We can go ahead and get the stock servo mount out of there. Let's get a weight here. The factory plastic servo mount comes in at a whopping 1.3 grams. And the Samix brass servo mount got a very nice look to it. It's gonna match the trail stuff excellently. 8.7 grams, so not much, but like 7.5 grams, a little over seven grams extra right on the front axle where it needs it. All right, there is our Samix brass servo mount tucked in there with the rest of these Treel goodies. It blends right in, looks absolutely great, and adds a little bit more weight to that front axle. Let's get it back together and take a look at it. Okay, here she is, the completed build for now as it sits. TRX4M Bronco. This thing looks absolutely wicked. I love how it sits now. I love the light kit. This bar and the bumper bar are so cool. The headlights, the taillights, the functionality on this kit is just awesome. It's really cool to me how you get the 5 different lighting modes. They're super easy to set. With the easy set button on the receiver, all you do is pop the body off. Really simple, just these 2 little clips. Body pops right off, and you can change your lighting modes with this button here on the receiver. And you get 5 different modes, on, off, running light, which is pretty cool. It's just the little front running lights here. You get a hazard mode. I love that there's no turn signals on this truck. So when you turn, you don't get those annoying turn signals for no reason like on the FMS trucks. The suspension, it feels absolutely great. All the Treel brass bits are wonderful. I mean, they look awesome. They've added a great amount of weight down low where this truck really needs it. In fact, we've added just a hair over 250 grams to the build altogether. And it's all way down low in the axles here, in the suspension, in the wheels, and that's right where we need it. I love the look with this spare tire instead of the cover. That looks so much cooler to me. This little truck is coming along so well. The 30 weight in the shocks feels good. It is a little bit stiff. We'll see, maybe they'll sort of wear in. The one nice thing I can say about this is I do want to add some more brass and metal bits to the upper part of the chassis. So it will be nice that these shocks will be able to handle that added weight. I might do the 2-speed transmission, I'm not sure. I really like how this truck drives with the crawler gears installed. It's very slow. The low speed control is greatly improved. I think this is going to be much better for actually tackling some obstacles. However, you do lose a lot of top end speed, and that's something that might get annoying on trails. One of the really cool things about the Pro Scale lighting kit is the tail lights that activate when you drive. So when you stop, your brake lights activate, which I think is super cool. And then when you back up, they go off and your reverse lights come on. That's so cool. I love that. That's awesome. I don't know why. Stuff like that absolutely tickles me. These lights are so bright. So bright. The difference between these and just the stock little bumper lights is incredible. I took this thing out into my backyard when I first got it in the dark and wheeled it around with just these factory bumper lights, and you can hardly see anything. And with these Pro Scale lights installed, it's so bright. So night wheeling is definitely going to be a thing. One thing that I don't like is the fact that the light shines through the body. You can really tell here on the rear corners, and at night it's much more obvious. It's hard to tell with the lights on in here, but you can see them through the hood too, and that's just due to the fact that they did not paint the inside of this body. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pull everything off here, spray the inside of the body black. The Trio suspension stuff, the Samix servo mount, the RC four-wheel drive tires are super sticky. I love these tires. I'm considering venting them. They have a good amount of squish to them without any vents, so I may or may not vent them. I'm not really sure, but I think I might. Just to get a little bit of extra squish out of them. We'll see how it does on the rocks before I go through any of that. This truck is awesome so far. This build is ready to go. So let's go ahead and take it out on the rocks, see how it crawls around with our new upgrades and how it compares to its stock form without any upgrades. And then we can talk about what's next for the TRX4M.